They say feelings are meant to be expressed, yet so many of us live in silent exile from our own hearts. We laugh, we work, we perform, but inside, a storm quietly rages, unnoticed even by ourselves. Why do some people fear their own emotions, as if vulnerability were a trap? What does it mean to hide from the very sensations that make us human? Today, we explore the hidden terrain of emotional avoidance, the quiet epidemic of unacknowledged feelings, and the truths waiting beneath the surface. Let's begin.
Some people live in quiet houses of stone, where the doors to their own hearts remain half closed. At first, this isn't deliberate. It begins as a subtle choice, or perhaps as a survival instinct. A child learns that tears can be inconvenient, that anger can be dangerous, that sadness might be too heavy to carry. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, a habit forms, to look away from what is felt, to turn toward the world while leaving the inner landscape untouched. Have you ever noticed how some people seem always fine, yet their laughter feels like an echo, distant and hollow? That echo is not absence, it is avoidance. Emotions are not gone, they are stored, folded into corners, layered under routines and distractions, waiting silently. And yet, even in silence, the heart remembers. There are flashes, a sudden pang of grief, an unexpected wave of fear, a momentary sting of joy that feels almost foreign. These glimpses remind the self that beneath the quiet, something still stirs. Emotional avoidance is not emptiness, it is a choice, often unconscious, that creates a life of still waters, hiding the currents beneath. Every habit has a beginning, and emotional avoidance is no exception. Its roots often reach deep into childhood, entwined with the lessons quietly taught by parents, teachers, and the world around us. Perhaps it was a whispered message, "Don't cry, be strong," or a glance of disappointment that spoke louder than words. Maybe it was a culture that praised composure over vulnerability, or a home where feelings were met with discomfort or dismissal. In these early years, the mind learns a crucial lesson. Emotions are dangerous to show. They are burdensome, unpredictable, or unwelcome. And so, avoidance becomes a shield, a skill honed over time to navigate a world that seems safer when the heart is muted. The child discovers that stillness and silence offer protection, even if it comes at the cost of intimacy, spontaneity, or self-trust. Yet the past never disappears entirely. These early lessons leave a sediment, subtle yet persistent. They shape the way we notice, or fail to notice, our own reactions. They teach the body to tense, the mind to redirect, and the heart to whisper instead of speak. Emotional avoidance is, in many ways, a response to survival, a quiet, learned strategy to carry on when the world seems too fragile for raw feeling.
To understand emotional avoidance, we must peer into the architecture of the mind itself. The brain, in its quiet wisdom, often treats strong feelings as threats. Fear, sadness, or shame trigger circuits designed to protect, to divert attention, to suppress discomfort, to preserve equilibrium. What feels like ignoring emotions is often the brain's attempt at survival, a subtle defense against overwhelm. Psychologists call this a form of emotional regulation, yet it is not always conscious. Defense mechanisms, denial, repression, distraction become tools for navigating life while keeping certain truths at a distance. Trauma and chronic stress can amplify these responses, teaching the body to anticipate danger even where none exists. Anxiety rises before a tear is allowed. Avoidance forms before grief can settle. But avoidance comes with a paradox. The more the mind shields, the more the body remembers. Muscles tense, sleep is restless, moods fluctuate without clear reason. Emotions are not erased, they are sedimented, layered in quiet corners, waiting. Have you ever felt a sudden surge of irritation, exhaustion, or inexplicable sadness, only to wonder where it came from? That is the mind whispering, a signal from the hidden self. Emotional avoidance is a fragile equilibrium. It protects, yes, but it also isolates the self from the richness, depth, and authenticity that feelings bring. Even when the mind knows it is hiding, the heart often rebels in quiet ways. Emotional avoidance is not a peaceful stillness. It is tension disguised as calm. There is a subtle war inside, a tug-of-war between what wants to be felt and what fears being seen. Every avoided tear, every silenced pang is a small act of resistance against the self. This resistance creates invisible friction. Life may feel like a carefully balanced tightrope, each step calculated to avoid stirring the inner storm. But beneath the surface, the energy of suppressed feelings accumulates. Joy feels muted, sadness uninvited, anger simmering quietly. The self begins to notice these gaps, though understanding them can feel frightening. Metaphors arise naturally, a river blocked by hidden dams, a volcano simmering beneath the snow, or a room filled with unspoken words. The pressure is subtle but relentless, whispering in dreams, in fleeting irritations, in moments of emptiness. Avoidance is both armor and cage, protecting the self from pain, yet quietly narrowing the landscape of life. And sometimes resistance is mistaken for strength. But strength does not require hiding. It is the courage to remain present with what is, even when it trembles. Emotional avoidance, then, is not failure. It is
Sometimes avoidance falters. A word overheard, a melody, a sudden silence. These sparks can crack the walls built around feeling. The mind may try to dismiss them, but the heart remembers. In these moments, the self glimpses what has been hidden for years, the pulse of grief, the tremor of fear, the quiet glow of joy. Realization does not always arrive in drama. Often it is gentle, almost imperceptible. A pause in conversation, a sigh in solitude, a tear that escapes unexpectedly. These are signals that the self is reawakening to its own landscape. For some, it comes as recognition. I have been here before, yet never fully present. For others, it is shock, discomfort, or a quiet questioning of long-held patterns. Psychologically, these moments are openings. Neural pathways that favored avoidance begin to soften. The body remembers what it has held back. Muscles relax, breath deepens, and awareness blooms. These small awakenings are subtle victories, whispering that presence is possible, that emotions are not enemies, and that the self can meet its own depths without judgment. Have you ever noticed a sudden emotional swell and felt both fear and relief at once? That is the first light of realization. The self quietly reminding itself that it has always been capable of feeling, even when it thought otherwise. Integration is not about forcing emotion into order. It is about noticing, allowing, and returning again and again with quiet compassion. Emotional avoidance slowly softens when the self learns that feelings are not enemies, but messengers, small, persistent whispers guiding toward understanding. Imagine a river once dammed, now finding small channels to flow. The currents are not overwhelming, they are steady, shaping the landscape gently, slowly over time. Each acknowledged fear, each felt sadness, each embraced joy becomes a sediment of experience that nourishes the heart instead of eroding it. Reflection deepens the process. When you pause and ask, "What am I feeling? Why do I turn away?"
You begin to map the terrain that was once hidden. Curiosity replaces judgment, and presence replaces avoidance. The self learns to live alongside emotions, neither suppressing nor clinging, but holding them with the same care one might hold a fragile flame. Healing is quiet. It is in the stillness, the recognition, the acknowledgement of what has always been there, waiting. Emotional avoidance does not vanish overnight. It is not a failure, but a habit slowly unlearned, a dialogue between fear and courage, protection and openness. And in this space, the heart begins to glow with its own tender resilience. It is here, in patience and gentle awareness, that presence becomes possible. If this video made you feel seen, even for a moment, know that you are not alone. If parts of this reflection felt familiar, it is because emotional avoidance is a quiet experience shared by many, one that does not diminish your value or humanity. If something quiet inside you was touched, allow yourself to sit with it gently, without judgment. This is a place to explore the hidden corners of the human heart, where silence is noticed and emotions are given space to breathe. If you'd like to stay connected, consider returning here, not for instruction, but for understanding, reflection, and quiet companionship. Sharing your own experiences is optional, but know that your words may help someone else feel less alone in their own inner world. Take care of yourself. You deserve gentleness. You deserve to heal.